Good evening, everyone. Let's see if I can. Okay, I think this is the right one. Whatever. Good evening, everyone. I am Victoria Nicole. I am the creator of the Confessional Room. It is a spin-off of the Confessions of a Lady, and if you all don't know what that is, it is my personal organization, nonprofit, where we speak out against domestic violence and abuse, concentrating in girls ages 7 and up who have been molested and or raped. If you guys haven't been following the page for very long, or you know absolutely nothing about me or my organization or what I stand for, I created the Confessional Room back in August 2015 after having a conversation with my first lady, but with my first lady, and she basically made me feel as if the whole world was on my shoulders. Let me stop kidding. No, she basically just said, Victoria, how long will you continue to run away or continue not to speak about the things that you have overcome and hindering other people? And it really made me realize that because I had gone through molestation, rape, suicide, domestic violence, and all of that, that God graced me enough to be able to continue to share my story with other people. And not only that, but I'm a firm believer when God brings you through something, that it's not just for yourself, but for you to be able to reach back and help someone else. So from there is where I started the Confessions of a Lady. We hold what do we hold? We hold conferences, workshops, and there's so many more things that God has truly put it in the place for COL. This coming up year, we actually have a teen summit happening on September 28th at the YMCA. We have partnered with Dig Mentoring and Empowering Program, and it's called She Is Me, because what I believe and what the other lady who are on the panel believe is that when you look up to someone or going through certain things in your life, you tend to think that there's nobody else who has gone through what you're going through. The devil makes you feel as if you are isolated. God has forgotten you. You're not worthy. And so many other things. And with the She Is Me conference, we want the teens and young adults to understand that I was once you. I felt what you felt. I'm currently maybe feeling what you feel. So don't allow for the enemy to make you feel less than, or that you are not adequate enough to live through what your current situation is, because I tell people all the time when they come into our office that God decided to have you on this side of the dirt today. So if there's nothing else that you can do, you can praise and glorify him just because of that, because someone did not get that wake-up call like you did. Okay? So tonight we have the Miss Beautiful Psalmist, Miss Jones, and she and I have not formally met, but we are Facebook friends, and she has shared some things with me, and I thought that she would be a great guest here in the Confessional Room. And the purpose of the Confessional Room is to let you guys know that it's okay. Being molested and or raped, it's not a situation that we want anyone to go through, but it happens more often than we would like to acknowledge or like to say. I tell people in the state of Alabama, reportedly every hour on the hour there's a allegation of child abuse, and child abuse is the number 12 health concern in the state of Alabama. Also, every 9 seconds there is a case of domestic violence. 1 in 3 women before the age of 18 will be sexually assaulted. So those statistics alone, every hour on the hour, there's an allegation of child abuse and neglect. The number 12 health concern in the state of Alabama. Every 9 seconds, there's a person being domestic violently abused in some form or fashion. Those statistics alone, it blows my mind every time I have to say it, because I'm all of those, but yet and still, even though I may feel some type of way some days, I still know deep down in my heart that God has truly favored and graced me enough and shown mercy upon my life to let me still be here, because there are so many women who have gone through these situations who do not get to live to tell their story. But gratefully, myself, along with all the other guests that we have in the Confessional Room, have gone through these things and have been able to live to tell the story. So without further ado, I am going to bring Miss Jones in. Let's see. Add. See if this. And please, you guys, if sometimes these topics are not for you, but they may be for someone else. So don't be afraid to share and tag people into the video, because I'm a firm believer it may not be for you. This may have nothing to do with you. Nothing at all. However, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this can help someone else. Because what I just say? Every 9 seconds, there's a person being a product of domestic violence, and 1 in 3 women before the age of 18 will be a statistic and will have been sexually assaulted. And please remember, these are only reported cases, because there are so many incidents that will go on unreported and untold. So please share. Hey, Miss Jones.
Hey, love, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
So I was just telling the people that you and I have not officially met. We were actually on a program together quite some time ago, and because of unforeseen circumstances, I wasn't able to actually go out, so I wasn't able to meet you. But we have grown an acquaintanceship on the Book of Faces. And so you agreed
Right.
to come in here and to the confessional room and just share some of your story with us. So tell us who you are, where you're from, and why you felt that coming in the room tonight is so important.
Okay, can you hear me? Because I'm getting like some feedback or something.
I can hear you. It's a delay, but I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, what was your question? Because I can't hear you hardly.
Okay, I was just asking, tell people about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and why did you feel it was important to come into the room tonight?
Okay, well, I am Prophetess Jones, slash Psalmist Jones. I am from Alabama, a little small town here in Alabama. And to me, coming, into the confessional room tonight, because confession is true from the soul. You don't overcome nothing that you can't confess and say happened to you. You can't become healed in certain areas until you accept what has happened and confess what has happened, so that place of healing no longer becomes this place to where you cope with everything else besides dealing with what's going on. So when you come to a confessional room, that means I'm being vulnerable. I'm coming to be open so that I can start my healing process. And that's why it's important to come and to talk and to confess and to say, yes, this happened, that happened, so that God can give you what you need and give you the different strategies and tools and connect you with the right people to help push you through your healing process.
Yes. And as you all know, that I like to say, I live by the 3 A's. Accept that you can't change things in your past. Acknowledge, accept, affirm. Acknowledge the things that happened in your past. Accept that you can't change them, and affirm yourself that you are deserving of a better and brighter future. And so I live by those 3 A's, and I definitely agree with you, prophetess, that you have to confess the things out of your mouth so that God can really begin to restore and heal you from the areas in which you were wounded. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. So, as you know, the confessional room, and I believe my mission and purpose in life is to help women and young adults and little girls who have been molested, raped, molested, and just sexually abused altogether. So, also in the confessional room, we try to keep it as transparent and raw and uncut as you will allow for it to be, because I'm a person who does not believe, who believes and not sugarcoating anything. I think we do enough of that in the world every day. And if we could get to a place where we can be raw and uncut, because one, children already know half of what we think they don't know, and two, because
Right.
sometimes we can overdo things, over explain things, but sometimes we got to make it plain and simple for the people. So, with that
That's
being
right.
said, what do you want to share with the people in confessional room? What are the issues that you encountered? How did it impact you? And where are you today?
When I was 8 years old, I was molested from the age 8 to the age of 15, by a close person that I thought I can trust. When you're going through something at that age, a young age, you don't know who to tell, you don't know who to talk to. You don't want to hurt nobody. You don't know what to do. And I remember my abuser doing things to me, and at first I didn't know, you know, what to say or how to feel about the situation, because when you're that age and you're that young, you don't know what to think or what's happening to you. And as I became older is when I started to gain more wisdom and gain more knowledge that, you know, what's going on with me and this person, it is not, you know, what God wants to happen. And I find myself after, you know, being sexually molested, that he told me, you know, he loved me and he cared about me and I was his special person. And that affects you when you're older, when you're dating a person, because you look for that, you know, somebody to love you, that special person. And sometimes you don't open yourself up fully and totally because it happened to you. And you rehearse that over and over again, and you don't become so open to certain people. You just you cover it with materialistic things, or you know, things of the world. And that's what I was dealing with. And it was not until this in December, I'm 35 years old now, so it was not until I was 34 years old until I forgave my abuser. So from age 8 to all the way to 34, I carried that with me. I never confessed to nobody, I never told nobody. I just dealt with it at that young age to now. And God told me, he says, in order for you to move to the next level of manifestations and to walk in your purpose, you're going to have to forgive the abuser. And I'm looking like, if that would have never happened to me, there's no way possible I can be sitting here talking to people that's been molested, that's been raped, that's been through domestic violence, because it's hard to relate to people when you ain't been through nothing. It's hard to say I understand and you haven't experienced what I experienced. You didn't feel the rejection that I felt. You didn't feel, you know, the disconnection that I felt with my purpose and felt with, you know, my identity. And I feel like my childhood was robbed, you know, and now I'm an adult and I fully understand that it is not your fault and it's not my fault, and that the abuser is the one who has the issue. But at the end of the day, I still got to forgive you. I still got to love you like God says love you, because I'm trying to get to the next level of manifestations, and I cannot walk around with unforgiveness in my heart, because unforgiveness, it blocks blessings, but forgiveness releases into the atmosphere what God wants me to do and the next steps that he wants me to take.
Preach!
So it affected, you know, it affected me, you know, coming up, and I didn't deal with it too well. And I recently, like last year, I was like, you know what, God, I gotta forgive him, and I gotta put this thing in the past, and I gotta move forward. And now I'm able to face him when I see him, and I don't have any problem, you know, and I say, hey, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no drawn out long conversation, but they know what they done, and they deserve grace and mercy just like anybody else do, you know, even though it happened. But it taught me, you know, how to be, not to be so open to people, and not to trust so easily, and don't be afraid to speak out. Don't be afraid to share and tell somebody that has confidentiality, that's not going to put your business on Front Street. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay if something is going on and you know it's not right. Don't be afraid to share that, because people that say they love you do not hurt you. So that was not what love was. And now that I'm older, I understand what love is and what love isn't.
You said oh goodness, I could have ran around my dining room table because you said a mouthful. I always like to hone in to the part where people say they have or have not forgiven the person. I'm a true believer. I believe I have a very forgiving spirit. I really do. Because I believe that we all make mistakes. Now there is a difference to me between forgiving and forgetting. I can forgive you all day. I don't have to fool with you. I can be cordial, still with the love of the Lord, and not fool with you. I also believe that nothing, and people judge me as you may, nothing happens on accident. Do I think that me being molested and or raped was a good thing? Absolutely not. Or almost, let me say that. Absolutely not. But I do think that it's made me who I am. Now, do I still have dirt from those issues and everything else that's happened? Absolutely. I am still closed off in certain areas of my life. However, I know that had I not gone through certain situations, I could not be a person here sitting here asking other women, or being strong enough, authentically strong enough to say, okay, this happened to me. Now I can move on. And so I think that forgiveness is such a great piece that a lot of people will never get. And I say that because some people get abused when they're younger and they never get the opportunity to talk to that person. But forgiveness to me truly is not for the person who abused you or did anything to you. It is for yourself. Because what if again you never get to a place where you can go to that person and have that conversation with them? So do you hold on and harvest all these negative feelings toward this person, or do you forgive yourself because it happened and then you move on?
Right. Right. Right.
So yeah, and so from 8, because there's many people like you, prophetess, that for me, it happened when I was 7 years old, and then I knew that it happened. I tried to tell my mother
Right.
quite a few times, and it wasn't until I got ready to release the girl who died at 7 that she actually listened and didn't say anything back and let me just pour it all out. But you said from the age of 8 to 34, and that was just last year in 2018 in December. So what has life been like? Or no, let's back up. How did the conversation go with you and your abuser? Did you have a conversation with them, or did you just choose then to forgive them?
I just forgave him, but I never had a conversation about what took place, because that's like opening up a wound again. And I don't want to reopen it and resurface it. I just want to forgive you and let you know I forgive you, and that's it. But as far as talking about details, certain things you just can't handle, certain things you just let God deal with. And that's what I done. I forgave him, and that was it. But I don't want to it's just like you have a sore and you keep picking at and open it back up. It's going to become infected again. It's going to become, toxic again. And I don't want that part of my life it's there as a memory, but I don't want to open it up back into my heart to where it bleeds into my heart. And that's what I'm dishing out.
Correct. So let's take a look at some of the comments and then we'll move on. I'm not going to try to pronounce your Miss King says, I've dealt with the same season of confession to position me for restoration. I never told anything up until a year ago or so. My encounter happened from age 8 to 14. I will leave on Monday of next week to go through the healing process. Okay. So do you know Miss King?
I do. Yeah, that's one of my best friends.
Okay. So let's talk about, or what are your viewpoints on people? Okay. And so I heard you mention earlier. So how has being molested affected you in your dating life?
It doesn't affect me now, but when I first started dating, like I stated, you think you begin to accept wrong treatment, put it like that. Domestic violence or emotional abuse, physical abuse, it becomes the norm, because abuse is abuse. It doesn't matter what form it is still abuse. So I felt like in order to be accepted, I had to be abused. And a lot of people, victims, feel like that. In order for me to feel accepted, then the abuse has to happen. This is what love is. This is what love, then I thought, that's what he loved me. Okay, cool. But when you get older and you realize, what you went through, and when I was 15, I was like, wait a minute, this is not right. It doesn't feel right. You know what I'm saying? So I had to be able, I didn't go back, over there. I wasn't around this person again. And I just shut myself away. And as I became older, I saw, me in relationships, and it's like the same thing repeating with the abuse and the verbal abuse and the physical abuse. And, no means no. When you say no, it means no. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And when I got healed from it, my relationship choices changed. I didn't accept certain things. I began to discover my identity. And like I said, this is not until you forgive the person and you walk in the spirit of forgiveness, and you can really figure out what your identity is, what you're here to do. And now I can recognize the signs of abuse in a younger person. I can recognize the signs if a young girl is acting out, or she's misbehaving like this, or if a young man acting out. Those signs of abuse, because I've been through it and I know what it is, and it mirrors. It's the same thing over and over and over again. So God has allowed me to be able to minister to the core, to him heal, because sometimes they can't talk to people that's close to them, because I couldn't. And I can relate to that. They have to talk to somebody that's actually been a victim, because it's hard to relate to a victim if you've never been a victim. It is very hard to say, oh, I understand. No, you don't understand. No, you cannot relate. And it's hard for a victim to accept, oh, I'll just pray for you. That's just the norm, traditional thing to say. But what strategies are you going to give me? What tools can you give me? And if you can't, then you refer the victim to somebody else who's been in that situation, who knows how to come out of that situation and how to bring, forth healing and manifestations and walk in your purpose. Even though you've been hurt, I still forgive you.
That's good. So what would you say? Because I have my own thoughts on, like you said, I can identify with the very promiscuous young girl. I remember when I was doing social services, it's like I always got those girls, or I always got those boys who had been touched inappropriately, and I was able to relate to them because that was my story. And I think I tell people all the time, I can give you word, I can break the word down to you backwards and forward, but I can also give you real life experience. And real life experience tells me that if you don't get a rein on your life now, that you're going to go down to a very spiral place. And it's going to be hard to come up. Not saying that you can't, but it's going to be very hard for you to, if you don't, move from that pain now and learn, like you said, to forgive. So if I were a young adult, let's say 13 and under, 14 and under, what would you say to me if I was being molested?
Well, first I would ask, have you talked to anybody? Have you reached out to anybody? And I would find out, is it a close family member? How did it get started? When did it get started? How do you know it's abuse? What's the signs, to that person? Because when you're that age, they can tell you what's going on. They can very well tell you what's going on. And then I would ask them, do you feel comfortable opening up and we're getting you some help? And we're do you feel comfortable going to your parent? Do you feel comfortable going to someone that you can share your story with, so that you can get some to get away from the abuser? Because you cannot be afraid to talk to these children like they smart. They're smarter than what we talk. We can't always, because you're 13 or 14, try to treat you like that. But if you are 13 or 14 and you're mature, we reach you at the level that you're at. Because if you don't reach them at that level, they're going to keep that mentality that I'm a kid and I'm not going to say nothing, just like I did. Nobody reached me at my maturity level, and that's why I wasn't able to open up. And that's why a lot of kids don't open up, because you say I'm a kid, so I'm not going to say nothing because I might get in trouble because I'm a kid.
That's true.
That's the first thing I'll let you know, that I understand, where you're coming from. I can relate. It is not your fault. You're not going to get in trouble. Let them know that, because if they feel like I'm going to get in trouble, or, if I tell it was my family member, or if it was, my babysitter, then my mama might not listen to me. And a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, they don't listen. They say, well, what did you do? Or are you sure? They think they're telling a fib. Some people can't even go to the church for help because the church turned against you, because they're trying to cover up so much stuff. And that's why I would be able to just dig to the root of the issue of when did it start and how long has it been going on, and how do you feel about this? How does this make you feel? And I will also let you know that, do you know that there's a way out? Because a lot of times kids don't know that they have a way out.
And that's so true. And I like to reiterate on on every video, when you're having this conversation with your children, there is no age limit to me that you can have this conversation with your child. One, because they have YouTube, they have social media, they have TikTok, they have Musical.ly, whatever the apps that they have that you allow them to have access to, they are already being introduced to these certain subjects that you think that they're not. That's one. And then as two, you need to teach your children the right words for their private areas, not their butterfly, not their pocketbook, not cuckoo, you need to teach them their vagina, their butt, their mouth. Because in the event that you ever have to go to court and to trial about anything sexual abuse to your child, they need to be able to identify this to the magistrate and or judge, because those can be, again, that's something else. Oh, it was a butterfly, it was driving around, it was flying around. They need to be able to identify their private areas. You don't ever want your case to be thrown out because your child is using a nickname for their private areas. I can't hone in that enough. So yes, when in company, you can use those conversations, but that your child also needs to know the proper terminology for their private areas. I'm not speaking this over any child's life, but in the event that it ever happens, you want your case to be solid in that area. So, prophetess, what would you tell somebody who is an adult whose abuser has passed away and they can't have a conversation about this anymore? What would you tell that person, that woman? Prophet, you froze? Are you frozen? Let's see. She like she froze. Can you guys hear me? I think she may have to drop off and come back. Somebody. Yeah, she dropped off. Can anybody hear me? Am I still frozen? And do I need to go out and come back in? It's her whatchamacallit froze, or is it me? Okay, Portia, you can hear me. Okay, so Miss King, you said yes, you're so right. I never said anything because I was afraid that it would be blamed from, and that's true. While we're waiting on Prophet to come back on, I can recall trying to have this conversation with my mother several times, and she never wanted to hear it. And I always tell people it wasn't until it was time for me to release my other book that my first book, excuse me, that God had actually released me to speak to her, and she was able to receive what I had to say. Was she happy about it? Absolutely not. Was she pissed off about who the person it happened from? Absolutely. Did my abuser try and call and reach out to me? Absolutely. Did she say because my abuser was a female, did she say it never happened? Absolutely. But I had to get to a place where, one, I was prepared. I personally was prepared for people to not believe me. Two, I knew that it happened. I thought I had a very vivid imagination because I read so many books. But when I got around this particular person, I always felt as if I was a child. Whenever they would touch me, I always felt dirty. I always felt ashamed. I always felt like I wasn't clean. So even if the devil tried to make you feel as if it was my fault or that nothing had ever happened, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that something had happened, because when that person would touch me, just a regular greeting hug, I could not be around that person. So yes, a lot of people will walk around in fear because they don't, and feel as if it's blaming them because they haven't want to talk to. But what I do tell people and encourage, you have to tell somebody. Whether that's your best friend, whether that's seeking counseling, whether that's seeking therapy, because you have to release it. It starts the healing process when you begin to talk about it, because it's no longer in between your two ears. It's no longer in your head. And that's, like Prophet said earlier, that's how you begin to heal. God gave me the confessional room because he knew that we had to confess out of our mouths things that are happening. And the only time the devil only wins in my eyes when we become silent, when we don't speak power and life over ourselves. I never had the conversation with my mother or anyone. I felt like once I gave it to God and trusted him. Absolutely. And honestly, you never have to tell anybody if you don't want to. If you feel that when you talk to God and you release it to God that he has healed you from that point on, then that's fine. You owe no man nothing. No man. But if it's a part of your healing process that you go and you speak to that person, or you go to your mother and you have that conversation with them, then that's when you do it. For me, it was necessary for me to do it because, one, I'm an adult, and then two, my mother and I, we had a very strenuous relationship. I would not allow for my daughter to be left alone for long periods of time with my mother because I felt as if she knew, I felt that my daughter would be abused too. Now, did my mother have anything to do with me being molested? Absolutely not. But because she was the common denominator in my issues, because she was a single mama, it was her duty in my eyes to protect me. Until I got to a place where I understood my mother did all that she could with me, I had to have the conversation with her because I desire a better relationship with my mother as I give to my daughter. But at the end of the day, Lakeisha, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if she does. As long as you know your truth and you walk in your truth, that's all that matters. It doesn't. I can be on this platform and I can talk to you guys in the confessional room about COL all day, every day, and no one ever has to believe me, but it's my truth. So when you know your truth and you walk in your truth, that is all that matters. Who cares what the rest of the world says? And so when you get to that place where you truly don't care. So let me back up. When I started the org, I was so nervous. I would never rewatch my lives until God had to show me, Victoria, it's not about you, it's for the other people. It's not about you. So when I lay out here and I lay my naked truth to you guys, it's my naked truth. I sleep in peace. I sleep very comfortably because I know that even though some people may doubt what I say and what I do, I know at the core of me that my story is true. I know at the core of me that God has healed me. I know at the core of me that this is my purpose and what God has called me to do. And so what people say, whether my mother, whether my family, they believe me or not, I know my truth and I walk in it boldly. So you have to know your truth. If what you say being molested or raped has happened to you, and when you begin to walk in that thing boldly, it doesn't matter if your mom believes you or not. It's not for her to believe you. It's for you to believe yourself and for you to reach back and help the next person who may or who is currently going through, who has gone through it, or whatever the case may be, period. I never had a conversation with my mother or anyone. I just feel like, yes, I still don't believe my mom believes me to a certain extent. It doesn't even matter. And I love my mother. Ooh, Lord knows I do. But at the end of the day, if she doesn't believe me, I don't care. Because this is my truth. I walk in my truth. I knew that my mom would stand by her word and kill anyone that touched me. I didn't want my mom to. My mom is a pop-off too. And that was another one of my things because my family is so divided anyways. Miss King, I felt as if I talked about it, that it would draw more of a wedge between my family. But again, at the end of the day, Miss King, I don't really care. I tell people all the time, I was a black sheep in my family before I started talking. I'll be a black sheep in my family when I die. I mean, but again, I had to do this because I have chosen to break generational curses in my family. My daughter, with all my might, will never encounter half the crap I've encountered. Whatever I can do to prevent, I know that she will go through her own trials and tribulations, but whatever I can do to prevent those things, I'm going to do. So I talk about sex to her, not in like where babies come from, but about good touch and bad touch. I talk to her about what her private areas are. I talk about if anybody touches you inappropriate, whether that's family, whether that's your TC, whether that's your dad. Whenever you feel uncomfortable, you tell me. I don't care if you got to text it, write it on a piece of paper. You come and tell me because I will never blame you or make you feel that it was your fault. It's never going to be your fault when somebody unwillingly does something to you. If you don't invite it in, and you can't invite it in until you're 99 years old anyway, I'm going to never blame you. I'm your safe place. And my daughter know that daily. Mommy is your safe place. I may not agree with everything you do, but I am your safe place. You can tell me whatever. I'm never going to blame you. But yeah, I agree with you. My mom was a jump off. I've seen her fight men and women, and yeah, I'm sure had I told her early on, or God had released me to tell her early on, she'd probably be in prison somewhere, because just as I told her then, had she been in close proximity of that person, they would have been fighting. I know they would have. Excuse me. I'm waiting on. Well, thank you, Miss K. I don't know where, I don't know. I'm going to give it another minute or so to see if Prophetess will come back on. And then if not, we're going to close it out. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know. I'm an open, transparent book. Anybody who knows me personally knows that I don't really care. Because I'm in a place in my life that only God can judge me, that you guys don't have a heaven or hell to put me in. And I'm not saying that to sound any kind of way. I walk in my truth and I walk in it boldly. And either you accept me for who I am, or I pray to God that releases you. It's kind of straightforward like that. It's just me. I don't really know. So if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know. If you want to share your testimony in the confessional room, definitely hit me in my inbox and let me know. But I am going to give it another minute. Maybe her phone went dead. I'm not sure. Oh, there she goes. Again, you guys, while we're waiting on Papa to come back in, be sure this live out again and invite people to the confessional room. Again, this may not be for you, but it may be for someone else. We've been having a good time. What happened to your phone went dead?
You know it, honey. I had to come plug it into the wall. I was like, Lord, here come the devil. He don't care. But and it was on 13. Yeah, it was on 13% and it just went out. I'm like, oh my God.
Every time people get on here, we always have some kind of technical issue, but that's only because, we're speaking on things the devil thought that we would never talk about. So he loses again.
That's right.
Oh, well.
That's right. That's right.
So we are in closing. So what else would you like to share with the people or tell the people, words of encouragement? I'll leave the next 5 minutes open to you, but I will ask questions if they arise.
Well, what I would share for the next few minutes is don't be afraid to be who you are. Don't be afraid if you've been through, because I've been through domestic violence, I've been through emotional abuse, physical abuse, all kind of abuse you can name. I've been through it. And when you feel like you have to take that and settle for that to be accepted, it takes away from who you are. And it takes away from your purpose and your identity, who God created you to be. You have to get your voice back. You have to get your voice back. You have to speak up and speak out and learn to walk in authority that God has given you to walk in. Don't be afraid. Don't have fear. I know it can seem like overwhelming, but understand that you deserve better. Whoever's watching, you deserve better than what you're going through. You deserve better than what you're getting treated like. You don't have to deal with nothing that the enemy tries to throw at you. And that's what I had. If I wouldn't have went through that, and I'm going to tell you one thing, sometimes the pain is necessary for the process. And if I hadn't have been through it, I wouldn't be cultivated and processed to the person that I am today. I would not be talking about violence and abuse and, helping people get broken from bondage and getting free in their spirits and free in their lives if that wouldn't have taken place, because it was all a part of the plan for my life. I had to endure some things. Some things you just have to go through. And some things, if you're a mother, you go through so your children don't go through. So you can protect your children so that you won't have your children around anybody and everybody and around these family members and these men and people in and out your house and people you think you can trust. You have more wisdom, you have more integrity, you have more knowledge of things, because like I said, if I wouldn't have went through it, then I probably would, my child would probably have a nanny or something. But because I went through that, none of my kids ever been in daycare center and none of my kids has ever had nannies, because I'm very protective of them and who they are. And that's why I came home 4 years ago. I came home to finish, to raise my children. I quit my job and I put my trust in God, and I allow God to meet every need. And I'm working my gift, I'm working my purpose, and I've been home for 4 years, my own entrepreneur, and I homeschool my 4-year-old. She doesn't go to school. She'll go to public school, but she doesn't go to these nannies and these different people, because I don't trust people like that, because I know what I've been through. So I told God, in order for my children to be safe, I'll take care of them. I'll take care of them. And that's what I do. And God has been making a way. He's been supplying the need. And even you may feel like, your needs are not being met. I'm here to tell you, being a mom of 3 kids and I'm a single mother, God will supply all your needs, all your needs. Everything that you go through and that you've been through, everything is a part of the plan, is a part of the process. But you have to get to a place to where you want to be healed. And you want to be free from that situation, that domestic violence, that abuse, whatever have you, because you deserve better. And just because you're going through don't mean you desperate. Some people think you desperate. No, that means you delivered and you're ready for destiny. I'm delivered for destiny. I'm delivered for destiny. So that's the advice I would give. And if you're facing going through something like that, no, God has a way out. There's always a way of escape. Recognize that it's not right. I deserve better, and I'm going to be who God created me to be, and I don't have to deal with this, and I don't have to take it. You don't have to stay there and take it.
And that's good, because a lot of people, and I'll add this and then I'll let you go. A lot of people don't understand that just because you've had abuse in your life that you have to endure for a very long time. And I was that person. I promise I was that person. I felt like I had become numb to pain. And sometimes I get back to that place because where my life is currently, I wouldn't have saw it here, and so I'd be like, I'm just gonna do whatever. I'm just gonna do me, and I'm gonna do whatever because I had become numb to pain, and so I had gotten used to, well, maybe everything that the person ever said about me in the past is true because this still is happening in my life. But you have to get to a place where you truly understand that you've endured that, it has happened, but you do have the right to have a healthy relationship with someone who loves you authentically and loves you unapologetically and loves every flaw about you. Now, we are not perfect people. I tell people all the time, when you become perfect, that means your purpose is done and you're going to go home to heaven or hell, whichever place you want to, whatever place you're destined to go. But until then, you still have opportunities to get it right, and you are deserving of a better and brighter future, irregardless of how the story started. You have the ability to change it, but it's up to you to really make a difference in your life because you're only control of you. And I know it's so hard and I sound like an echo to myself, but at the end of the day, you can only control you and your happiness. Do you have anything else to say? Can you hear me? You can
I
hear me?
think I lost you. I think I lost you because it's kind of in and out here.
Well, I was just saying, letting the people know that irregardless of how that story started, they have the opportunity to make sure that it ends differently, but they have to make a conscious effort and decision for themselves to let their end story be different.
I can't hear anything.
Well, that is it. If you can hear me say this, is there anything else you want to tell the people? No.
I can't hear a thing, honey.
Okay. Well, that is it.
I'm trying to even log on my daughter's phone. Let me see if I can log on to her phone. Hold on a moment. Let me see if it'll let me come in. It may not let me come in. My mom was. Let me see.
Does anybody have any questions or comments as we're waiting on her to see if she can get back logged in? Oh, she's gone again. Okay. So this is it for us today. We'll be back here next Monday in the confession room and just share part of your story. You don't have to be truly out of your situation. You don't have to be totally healed to come into the confessional room. We accept people at every stage that they're in, because just because you don't feel like you're delivered, you may be a step further than someone else. That makes sense. Okay, you guys, this is it. I am Victoria Nicole. I am the creator and founder of the confessional room. Also the founder of the Confessions of a Lady, where we encourage people to live in their truth. At the end of the day, that's all you can do. All right, you guys, until next Monday, we'll see ya again.